The first demand was about the coffee. "No sugar, my love. You know how I worry about your health," Ben had said, his voice a silken trap, 2 months into our marriage. He'd smiled, a flash of perfect white teeth that didn't quite reach his eyes. "And that dress, the blue one, hugs you in a way that, well, let's just say I don't want every man in the room getting the wrong idea." "Wear the black one. It's more elegant." At first, it felt like love. Profound, attentive, all-consuming love. He was a successful architect, 12 years my senior, a man who had his life perfectly ordered. He wanted to order mine, too, to polish me into the flawless accessory that complemented his existence. Maya, a woman who had once prided herself on my messy, vibrant independence, found myself wilting under the heat of his attention, mistaking control for care. The demands were never shouted. They were murmured over dinner, suggested with a sigh of disappointment, rewarded with a diamond bracelet or a weekend at a spa if I complied. They were a slow, insidious poison. "Don't see Clara so much, darling. Her divorce has made her so negative. Your job at the gallery is a nice hobby, but it's time to focus on starting our family. My salary is more than enough. That password on your phone is so inconvenient. In a real partnership, there are no secrets." I agreed. I quit my job. I drifted from my friends. My world shrank to the cold, minimalist confines of our penthouse apartment, a beautiful prison with a stunning view of the city I no longer felt a part of. My identity was sanded down, smoothed into the shape of Ben's wife. I was a ghost in my own life, whispering my assent to every new rule, my spirit growing quieter with each passing day. The night it all altered began like any other. Ben was hosting a dinner party for a crucial client. The pressure for everything to be perfect was a tangible force in the air. "Remember, Maya," he'd said, straightening his tie in the reflection of the polished elevator doors, "the Halpern account is delicate. Be charming, but not too familiar. And for God's sake, don't bring up politics." "I know, Ben," I'd whispered, my stomach a tight knot. The dinner was a masterpiece of superficiality. Crystal glasses clinked, laughter was measured and polite, and the conversation flowed as smoothly and emptily as the expensive wine. I played my part perfectly, a smiling mannequin in a designer dress I hated, reciting lines I'd rehearsed in my head. It was during dessert that my phone, tucked away in the kitchen, buzzed with a persistent, frantic rhythm. A violation of Ben's rule, phones were forbidden during social engagements. A sliver of my old self, a spark of rebellion, made me slip away under the guise of checking the creme brulee. In the sterile brightness of the kitchen, I saw 12 missed calls from my younger brother, Leo. My heart seized. Leo never called. He texted. Something was wrong. I called him back, my hand trembling. He picked up on the first ring, his voice choked with tears. "Maya, it's Mom." She collapsed. "It's a brain aneurysm. They don't think she'll make it through the night. You need to come. Now." The world tilted on its axis. My mother. My vibrant, loud, unconditionally loving mother, who had quietly disapproved of Ben's polishing. The world outside Ben's curated universe still existed, and it was crashing down. I stumbled back into the dining room, my face ashen. The perfect hostess veneer shattered. "Ben," I interrupted, my voice trembling. "It's my mom. She's in the hospital. It's critical. We have to go. Now." The table fell silent. All eyes turned to Ben. He didn't look at me with concern. He looked at me with cold, hard fury. He stood, placing a firm hand on my arm, his grip just a little too tight. "Maya, darling, I'm sure it's not as bad as it sounds," he said, his voice a calibrated blend of warmth for the guests and steel for me. "Let's not disrupt our evening over a panic. We'll call the hospital after our guests leave and get the full story." The air left my lungs. "Let's not disrupt our evening, *. My mother was dying, and he was worried about the Halpern account. the spark of rebellion, fanned by sheer terror and grief, burst into a flame. "No," I said, the word foreign and powerful on my tongue. I pulled my arm from his grasp. "I am leaving. Now." The shock on his face was almost comical. I had never, ever openly defied him in front of anyone. His mask of civility slipped, and for a split second, I saw the raw, ugly anger beneath. "Maya, be reasonable," he hissed, low and dangerous. But I was already moving. I didn't grab a coat. I didn't look back. I walked out of our apartment, out of my gilded cage, and into the elevator. The doors closed on the stunned silence of the dining room and on Ben's furious, bewildered face. The drive to the hospital was a blur of tears and frantic phone calls to Leo. I arrived to a scene of controlled chaos. My mother was alive, but unconscious, hooked up to a tangle of wires and beeping machines. I held her hand, the same hand that had held mine through every skin, knee, and broken heart, and I wept. I wept for her, and I wept for the woman I had allowed myself to become. It was there, in the stark, antiseptic silence of the ICU waiting room at 3 a.m., that the second alteration occurred. Leo had gone to get coffee, and I was alone, shivering in my thin, elegant dress. My phone buzzed. It was Ben. A text message. I expected anger. A demand to return. A lecture. I braced myself. But the message wasn't for me. In his rage and panic, he had made a catastrophic error. He had meant to text his business partner, David. But he had texted me. The preview on my lock screen showed a string of words that froze the blood in my veins. "Ben, she's finally lost it. Just walked out on the Halpern dinner. Her mom's probably just having a fucking dizzy spell. This is why I can't stand her family. Drama queens. Don't worry, I'll handle her. It's just like last time with Isabel. A few days of the silent treatment and she'll come crawling back, begging for forgiveness. Women always do." I stared at the screen, my mind unable to process the cruelty, the sheer, unadulterated contempt. Her mom's probably just having a fucking dizzy spell. But it was the last part that truly, irrevocably, shattered my reality. It's just like last time with Isabel. Isabel. His first wife. The one who, according to Ben, had been emotionally unstable, who had left him abruptly and moved to another country. The ghost he'd used for years as a cautionary tale. You don't want to end up like Isabel, do you, Maya? Unhinged and alone? My fingers, numb with cold and shock, tapped on the message thread. And I saw it. The entire, sordid history I was never meant to see. He had, in his blind fury, texted me a chunk of his private conversation with David. I scrolled up, my heart hammering against my ribs. Ben, from earlier Isabel found out about Kara. That's why she left. She threatened to expose me to the board. David, and you're sure Maya doesn't suspect anything? Ben, please. She's a mouse. She agrees to everything I say. She has no idea about the offshore accounts, let alone Kara. She's so busy trying to be the perfect wife, she wouldn't notice if I had an affair right under her nose. Which, for the record, I have. Several times. The world stopped. The fluorescent lights of the waiting room hummed a funeral dirge. Kara. His assistant. The sweet, young woman who always remembered my coffee order. Several times. It wasn't just the infidelity, though that betrayal was a physical blow. It was the totality of the lie. The offshore accounts. The sinister truth about Isabel. The calculated, premeditated way he had broken me convinced me my own perceptions were wrong, that my desires were flaws. He hadn't been building a life with me, he had been managing an asset. And he was a serial offender. The fog that had clouded my mind for years lifted in an instant. It wasn't love. It was a pathology. and I had agreed to every single one of his demands, walking willingly into the cage, because he had convinced me the lock was for my own protection. I didn't cry. A strange, powerful calm settled over me. This was the truth. This was the altered reality. When Leo returned with the coffee, I was a different person. The ghost was gone. The woman sitting in that plastic chair was made of iron and fire. "Leo," I said, my voice steady. "I need you to do something for me. I need a lawyer. The best, meanest divorce lawyer you can find." The following days were a whirlwind. I never went back to the penthouse. I stayed with Leo. I changed my number. I hired a forensic accountant, thanks to the clues in Ben's mistaken text. When Ben finally realized his error, his attempts to contact me shifted from furious demands to desperate love bombing, flowers, pleading emails, promises to go to counseling. It was all a script. I knew that now. I saw the man behind the curtain, and he was small, and pathetic, and cruel. My mother, miraculously, pulled through. The first thing she saw when she properly opened her eyes was me, her daughter, holding her hand. And she smiled a weak, but genuine smile. "There you are," she whispered. "I've missed you." The divorce was brutal, but the evidence I had, the mistaken text, the financial records the accountant uncovered, was irrefutable. Ben fought dirty, but he was fighting a woman who had nothing left to lose and everything to gain, herself. I didn't get half of everything. I got more. I got my life back. I got a small apartment that smells of my coffee, brewed strong and sweet. I got my old job back at the gallery. I reconnected with Clara. I wear bright red dresses. The night of the hospital, of the mistaken text, altered everything. It was the shock that restarted a stopped heart. It was the truth that shattered the beautiful lie. I had agreed to his demands, until the universe, in its infinite and brutal wisdom, handed me a single, devastating message that set me free. This story is a fictional narrative, but the pain of hidden betrayal is all too real. Have you ever uncovered a secret that changed your entire world? At Life's Secret Stories, we believe that sharing our stories can be the first step toward healing and reclaiming our power. You are not alone. If this story resonated with you, please share your own experiences or thoughts in the comments below. Let's support one another in a community of understanding and strength. Subscribe to Life's Secret Stories for more powerful journeys from the shadows into the light. Together, we can turn our secrets into our strength.